Last night, I was driving home from my sister's place, taking the usual route through the back roads I'd driven 100 times before. The GPS had died an hour earlier, but I didn't need it. I knew these roads like the back of my hand, or at least I thought I did. The rain started around 10 p.m., turning from a drizzle into a downpour that made my windshield wipers work overtime. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. I squinted through the sheets of water, looking for the familiar turn that would take me to the highway. That's when I saw it. A dirt road I'd never noticed before, branching off to the right. Something in my gut told me it was wrong, but the rain was getting worse, and I thought maybe it was a shortcut I'd somehow missed all these years. I turned. The moment my tires hit that dirt path, everything changed. The rain seemed to intensify, hammering against my car like fists demanding to be let in. The headlights struggled to pierce the darkness ahead, revealing only twisted trees that seemed to lean toward the road, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. I drove for what felt like an eternity, waiting for the road to connect to something familiar, but just kept going deeper and deeper into the woods. My phone had no signal. The GPS was still dead. And when I tried to turn around, I realized the road had narrowed so much that I couldn't without risking getting stuck in the muddy ditches on either side. So I kept going forward. What choice did I have? That's when I started seeing things in the trees. At first, I told myself it was just shadows playing tricks on me. The way the headlights caught the rain and the branches created illusions. But these shadows had shapes, human shapes, standing perfectly still between the trees, watching my car pass. I pressed harder on the gas pedal. The road curved sharply, and suddenly my headlights illuminated something that made my blood run cold. A house. In the middle of nowhere, surrounded by these oppressive trees, stood a decrepit wooden structure that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. But there was a light in one of the windows. A flickering, orange light like a candle flame. I should have kept driving. Every instinct screamed at me to keep going, to not stop, to get as far away from that place as possible. But my car had other plans. The engine sputtered once, twice, and then died completely. I coasted to a stop about 50 feet from a house. I turned the key. Nothing. The battery was dead. The headlights faded to black, and suddenly I was sitting in complete darkness except for that flickering light in the house's window. The rain continued to pound on my roof, but inside the car, the silence was deafening. I pulled out my phone, desperate for any kind of light or connection to the outside world. The screen showed no bars, no signal, nothing. But the battery was still at 60%, so I turned on the flashlight and pointed it toward the house. The beam illuminated peeling paint, broken windows, and a front porch that sagged dangerously to one side. And standing on that porch, barely visible in the rain, was a figure. A woman in a white dress, completely still, staring directly at my car. My hand trembled so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. I blinked, and she was gone. Just vanished, as if she'd never been there at all. I sat there for maybe 5 minutes, trying to decide what to do. Stay in the car and wait for morning? Try to walk back the way I came? Or approach the house and see if whoever lived there could help me? The decision was made for me when I heard the tapping on my window. Slow, deliberate taps. Tap, tap, tap. I screamed and whipped my phone light toward the driver's side window. Nothing. Just rain streaming down the glass. But the tapping continued, moving now to the back window. Tap, tap, tap. I scrambled to lock all the doors, my hands shaking so badly I could barely press the buttons. The tapping moved to the passenger side, then the front windshield. Something was circling my car, knocking on every window in turn. That's when I saw them. Multiple figures now, emerging from the tree line. They moved in that same jerky, unnatural way, their movements not quite human. They surrounded my car, standing just at the edge where my phone's light couldn't quite reach their faces. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed my keys, unlocked the door, and ran toward the house. I didn't care if it was dangerous. Whatever was outside was worse. The porch steps groaned under my weight, threatening to collapse. I pounded on the front door, screaming for help. Behind me, I could hear footsteps on the gravel, slow and steady, getting closer. The door opened. An old woman stood there, her face weathered and lined with age. But her eyes were kind, concerned. She pulled me inside quickly and slammed the door shut, throwing 3 different locks. "You shouldn't have come here," she whispered, her voice raspy. "No one should come here after dark." I was soaking wet, shivering uncontrollably, barely able to speak. My car had died. There were things outside. People, but not people. She nodded slowly, as if this made perfect sense to her. The forest doesn't like strangers, especially on nights like this. "Come, sit by the fire. You'll catch your death standing there in those wet clothes." She led me to a small living room where a fire crackled in a stone fireplace. The room was filled with strange objects, dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, jars filled with things I couldn't identify, symbols carved into the wooden beams. "What is this place?" I asked, my teeth still chattering. "This is the boundary," she said, settling into a rocking chair that creaked with her weight. "Between your world and theirs. This house has stood here for 200 years, keeping watch. Keeping them contained. Them." She stared into the fire, her expression distant. "The ones who were here first. Before the towns, before the roads. They don't take kindly to trespassers. The forest belongs to them, and they mark their territory. Anyone who comes in after sunset, well, most don't leave." My heart was pounding. "How do I get out?" "You wait until dawn. The light weakens them. When the sun rises, you run to your car, and you don't look back. The forest will release you, but only once. If you ever come back." She trailed off, shaking her head. We sat in silence for hours. I didn't dare look out the windows, even though I could hear movement outside, scratching at the walls. Whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Once, something heavy slammed against the door, making the entire house shake. The old woman just rocked in her chair, humming a melody that sounded older than time itself. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw gray light beginning to filter through the grimy windows. Dawn was coming. "It's time," the old woman said, standing. "Remember, run to your car and don't look back. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, don't look back." She unlocked the door, and I stepped out onto the porch. The forest was still dark, but the sky above was lightening. My car sat where I'd left it, looking impossibly far away. I ran. I ran faster than I'd ever run in my life. Behind me, I heard screaming, dozens of voices all screaming at once, angry and desperate. I heard footsteps chasing me. I heard my name being called in voices that sounded like my family, my friends, people I loved. But I didn't look back. I reached my car, threw myself into the driver's seat, and turned the key. The engine roared to life immediately. I slammed it into gear and drove, my tires kicking up mud and gravel. In my rearview mirror, I saw them. Dozens of figures standing at the edge of the road, watching me leave. And among them, in her white dress, was the woman from the porch. I drove until I found the highway, and I didn't stop until I was home. That was last night. This morning, I looked up the area on a map, trying to find that dirt road, that house, some explanation for what happened. But there's nothing there. According to every map, satellite image, and GPS system, that road doesn't exist. That part of the forest is marked as uninhabited, protected land where no structures have been built in over a century. But I know what I saw. I know where I was. And I know I'll never drive those back roads again after dark. Because some wrong turns you can't come back from.